All right, cool. Okay, so welcome everyone to Red Team. We'll be going over some Android exploitation, some basics, and like just setting up how to enumerate some web apps and just learning how to break them and hopefully annoying some people. So for context, wait, so who here knows about Life360? Okay, so I'm gonna explain it anyway, but it's basically an app that allows you to track people. So families use it to track where people are and send messages to them sometimes, track their driving, track just the location. So my friend group is kind of weird, and we have our own Life360, just to like set up like some like hangouts and stuff, and just to just to know where people are. There's this feature though that I want to talk about. It's these buttons. These buttons allow you to basically just send a notification to whoever you want, and they're not rate limited at all. So it's become kind of a meme at this point where if your phone battery is below 20% in my group chat, you're getting spammed at 2 a.m. and your phone is just gonna keep vibrating until you charge that phone. So there are some just like unemployed people in my group chat, and they have nothing better to do than to check this Life360 app and just start clicking the button for like 50 minutes. And then it kind of just looks like this at the end of your phone. So it gets kind of annoying. So I thought, hey, why don't I try to create a bot that will automate this for me, just to fire back at these people. And yeah. So my initial thought was, hey, can I just log on to the Life360 like website and just send the request and then just have like an auto clicker send it? Apparently you can't. There is no Life360 web app. You can only use it on your phone. So that's why we're doing Android exploitation. So here is our plan of the attack. So in my brain, what I thought, this is what I think was going on behind the scenes in the background for Life360. Your phone will basically just send an HTTP request to the app, right? And this HTTP request would just be like, oh, send this notification to my friend. And I'm not entirely sure if that is exactly how it worked at this stage. I just kind of had a hunch that, hey, most apps are kind of just web app wrappers nowadays. So it's probably just sending something to an external API. So something I was trying to want to do is try to intercept this request going to the Life360 app. Yep. So we need to capture this request so that later on we could just set up a script to spam this request to Life360 and then just annoy people. So first of all, how would we do that? Well, we could use a physical phone, or something easier would just be to emulate it. So Android and Google has this really nice IDE, Android Studio, and that lets you basically create a bunch of virtual phones. There are other alternatives like Genymotion, some other like paid software, but I mean, I like Android Studio. It is kind of heavy since you are installing a full IDE, but it's actually pretty fast. You could probably game on it, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of options. Something important you have to pick is you have to make sure this play icon that you're selecting is there. The difference between the two, having it with and without it, is that having the play, I guess, image will allow you to connect to like Google Play services. So you're able to install apps from Google Play. Without it, you're given less restrictions. So you're able to just get root on the phone immediately, but you're not able to install things from Google Play. So, and we need to install Life360. So we have to install. I picked Pixel 6a. So, yeah. And then it was pretty simple. Go through the installer, and then you could get a free phone. Yeah.
It's been a while since I messed with like Android emulation, but does installing the APK for the app not work? Like Life360 APK? No.
You can. It's just there are some shady websites, and I'm like, I'm not trying to put my personal credentials on there.
It's a VM.
It's a VM, but I have to log in with Life360. So yeah.
Are there any apps that you know of that do like that try to detect if you're in a VM?
Not that I know of.
I do.
But yeah, probably some baking apps will. That becomes really problematic when you're trying to pen test them. So we'll go over some like ways to actually. There are some ways to bypass those detections. You could decompile it. You could disable boost checks. You can also use another tool, reverse engineering tool that will just disable them. Yeah, go ahead.
I think I sent an example of an app that does VM detection, person detection in the Discord. Do you remember? It was like a to-do app or something.
Was it an iPhone app?
Yeah, it was an iPhone app.
Well, I don't really remember, but there are several tools that you could use to just hook into that like debugger detection function call and then just disable it. But yeah, any other questions? Okay, good. All right, so just install Life360 on the app, pretty easy. And something else you could do that I thought was pretty funny was you can install McDonald's in the app and get a bunch of deals. So very easy. Okay, so back to our plan of attack. We need to intercept this post request from our phone to Life360 so that we could replay it later. So a popular tool people use for this, even like the desktop kind of apps, is the Burp Suite. So it basically just acts as a proxy between your phone or your browser, your computer, and then it will sit in between your connection from your phone to the web app. And then any requests that go through, you'll be able to see them. And a screenshot like this is like if you try to connect to ufset.club, you can turn on interception, and then it will not let any requests go through unless you approve them. So you get to see all the requests. So you can see the get ufset.club, and then you can see the details of that request. So that's what we're trying to do with the Life360. So yeah, which is a visualization. Setting it up in Android Studio or the emulator is pretty easy. You could just go to the settings for the phone and then just set up the proxy to your Kali machine or your attack machine or whatever. And then for Burp Suite, you also have to do some setups because by default, it will only like listen on their specific browser. So you go to the settings, edit the proxy, and then listen on all the interfaces so your phone can actually connect to Burp Suite. And then once the proxy is connected, we should be able to make the request, and we should be able to see it in Burp Suite. So, and no, we can't. And we get this error saying the client failed to negotiate a TLS connection to the endpoint, blah, blah, blah. And that's because Life360 is doing some additional checks, or when they're initiating the connection, it wants to make sure this connection is secure and that no one's listening in on it. But obviously we're trying to see what request it's making. So obviously it's not gonna let you it's not gonna create the request if it knows it's insecure. So basically to the phone, this is gonna kind of be of a simplification of Yuling's talk from I guess 3 weeks ago, but basically your phone checks the signature or who you're connecting with before it makes before it continues the connection. So for example, if your connection is safe and secure and it's clean, your phone will just make a request to Life360. It will check the signature and it will check, hey, does the signature match with any of these? Is this a good connection that your phone has? These are certificate authorities that your phone is pre-installed with, and these are basically just trusted. So it will check the signature, and if it matches any of these, if any of these say it's good, then it will accept the connection and continue. But what we're doing is we're doing a man-in-the-middle attack against ourselves. So our phone will check this connection and be like, hey, this doesn't match with any of the trusted credentials or any of the certificate authorities. None of these are approving it. So I'm not gonna initiate this connection because I know someone's listening in on it, or it's just it's just insecure. So what we have to do is we kind of have to trick our phone into thinking, hey, this is a safe connection. Please let it go through. So what we want to do is have our Burp Suite certificate authority inside this trusted credentials in our phone. So pretty simple. We just export the certificate of authority into the phone. Unfortunately not, because when you export something, Burp Suite lets you export their certificate authority, but you can't import it into a high privileged certificate into the phone. And that's just by design. That's just how Android does it, because they don't want any like user being tricked into thinking, hey, this is valid. Hey, install this on your phone, and then you'll have very secure connections. So yeah, there are some checks that there's some preventions that Android will do, and we kind of just have to get around that. So to do that, what we can do is we can add Burp Suite's certificate authority into the user credentials. And well, no app is going to use that, but we can do something else. We just need it here on the phone for later. What we can do is we need to root our phone. So basically, the phone will trust all user certificates, all user authorities as system ones. So they're high privileged, and that apps will begin to use them. So we use a tool called root AVD, and we also use a module called trust user certs. And installation is pretty simple, at least for emulated devices. You can just, on your phone, run the shell script that's provided in the GitHub, and then your phone will be rooted, it will restart, and then an app will appear named Mischief. So I'm not entirely sure what Mischief is, but it just lets you use like custom modules and gives your phone, I guess, a root shell whenever you want to connect to it. So we also have to install the always trust user certificates module in Magisk. So we just go to modules and then just install it from the storage. You can download it from your phone, and then it will appear that it's not in the system, it's still in the user, but trust me, it is being trusted. And I think we're good to go to give it another shot, because now Life360 should initiate that connection to Burp Suite and it should be like, hey, this is a good connection, and we should be able to see what's inside each of the packets. And no again. So I was kind of like banging my head at this point, because I was like, why isn't this working? So it's still failing to negotiate TLS connection, and the reason for that is a lot of apps nowadays, they try to add extra security onto their app, and what they do is when you try to initiate a connection, right? Burp Suite's authority will say it's good, but what the app is configured to do is only pay attention to a specific authority, right? So it will ignore this, but it will only pay attention to this, right? And that makes sense. Oh, this is just an example, by the way. That makes sense in security, where like, hey, my connections or my server is always going to be trusted from this authority, right? So why would I trust anyone else, right? So just disable everyone else and only listen to this. And that kind of just makes it annoying for us, but it makes it more secure for them. So that's another hurdle we have to get around. This technique is called SSL pinning, and a lot of Android apps use it nowadays. It's just kind of like a supported feature that they could just toggle on. But yeah, there's basically two ways you can get around it. You can either decompile the app, change the setting in Android, and then recompiling it. That is kind of janky, especially with some more complex apps, because well, decompiling it is gonna be it might fail, and then changing the settings it could be anywhere, right? And then recompiling it is even worse. Like you have to run this command, and then if it's very likely to fail, and afterwards you have to also sign the app again with your own signature. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you know if they check hashes? Like if you recompile it, the hash is gonna be different.
That's also possible, right? Internally, the app could check, hey, has this been modified? And if it is, I'm not gonna run. So the second option you could use is to use a toolkit called Frida, which could disable the security feature at runtime. This also has some disadvantages, particularly that Frida requires your phone to be rooted. And if the app wants to detect if there's a rooted phone, it could, disable it and decide to just not run. So, well, I picked the second option because I kind of just didn't trust like decompiling it and then recompiling it to work. So yeah, let's go over Frida. So what they call it is they basically just describe it as a dynamic instrumentation toolkit that's used for reverse engineering, debugging, and security research. I had no idea what that meant at first, but the most important part is that it basically allows you to hook onto Java functions, which when an app is trying to execute a function, you're able to hijack it, change its return value, change its arguments, and change its behavior to make it return something else. So, I mean, as I stated previously, if there was like an anti-debugging check or like a I guess I don't know, is this a valid TLS connection check? You could just return yes. But yeah. Yeah.
Is Frida related to IDOT in any way?
No, actually,
Just coincidence.
it's a coincidence. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're both named after somebody. So, but oh wait, yeah, IDA stands for interactive disassembler. IDA has like I don't know.
Its logo is like some.
Yeah, its logo is related to somebody. Okay, so installing Frida, you kind of just have to go to the GitHub, install the Frida server, and then connect to your phone with Android Debugger. So Android Debugger just basically allows you to push files onto the phone and also allows you to execute a shell. And then you also have to allow USB debugging on the emulator. And then once you have all this downloaded and you have a shell popped up, you can. It's just standard to go to this directory and push the and Frida server onto this directory. But once you have everything set up and you have Frida server onto the device, right? You can start to execute it, and then on another terminal, you could start interacting with Frida. So this was one of Frida's commands. You could see all the running processes running on the Android device. And then after that, we're gonna need something else too, because Frida is kind of low level. It's kind of hard to script. It's hard to disable. I mainly don't want to disable the TLS checking, so I'm gonna have something else do it for me. And that thing is called objection. It's basically just a wrapper around Frida, and it's very it just has a lot of tools that simplify like common tasks. So SSL pinning is the big one, which is what we're trying to achieve. But you can also dump keychains and stuff. You can inspect containers, and yeah, it just makes using Frida a lot easier if you don't need any of this extra functionality and you just want to use these pre-built scripts to do the things you want to do and you don't want to write them yourself. Okay. So kind of just like using Frida, you just run objection on it instead. And then you're given this terminal, you're given the shell, and then you use tag G to specify the process ID of the app you want to kind of inject into or configure. And 18359 for this example was Life360. And so after that, you can type in the command Android SSL pinning disable, and then it will finally disable SSL pinning. So now we should be able to make a connection, right? Because my phone will connect to Burp Suite, and then it's not going to check anything else, right? It's going to check all of these, but Burp Suite's authority will say yes, and then it should make that connection, and we should be able to see what the phone is requesting from the Life360 servers, right? And it works finally, yay! So this is really cool. So as you can see, Life360 booted up just fine. So it wasn't doing any like fancy root detection. So that was good. We can see all the requests it's making, particularly to amplitude.com/amplitude.life360.com, and like the API, very important. And yeah. So after that, what I did was I turned on the interception. So now any requests that are being made from Life360 are going to be intercepted by Burp Suite or the proxy, and then we'll be able to see any of the connections any of the requests it's trying to make. So I just tapped this commit this button and then made this request. I'm like, that's probably what I was talking about. That's probably the thing that I want to capture and then repeat over and over and over again, right? So if we see here, I moved that request I found into the repeater, and now we're able to see all the details of it. So that's very good. Now all I had to do was just keep clicking send, right? And then I kept doing that, and then I got a message on my phone telling me to stop sending the messages, and I was like, I'm not gonna stop, right? And then now that I knew that it worked, I copied this over the curl, and then just started a shell script that would run overnight, right? So yeah, that was pretty fun to do. But does anyone notice anything about this request that is particularly interesting right here? I'm blocking out the API stuff so you guys can't steal anything. Well, it's
Change the message.
you can change the message. Yes, I actually didn't expect it to, right? Because what Life360 allows you to do is choose between these like predefined messages, right? And I was like, I can do something sneaky here. So I'll just send my own message, and then they'll get bombarded with anything I want to send. And unlike Discord, unlike text messages, you're not rate limited here. So just go crazy. And yeah, you can mass send messages to all your friends. That's
What sending them.
Oh. I don't think I'm at liberty to say, but yeah, that was fun. I know this was kind of just like a simple example, but I mean, we're able to change the message, and that's like that's kind of interesting, that's kind of not. But the idea here is we're enumerating the API of the web app, or the underlying app that the underlying web server the app is trying to connect to, right? So I didn't do much, I didn't really do that much like extra stuff. So you guys can have fun with that. But if you guys want to figure out like, hey, what is this app actually connecting to, and is what it's connecting to vulnerable? More importantly, because a lot of apps could just have the security on the app but not protecting what it's connecting to. That could open up a lot of like, I guess, pen testing opportunities. So yeah, that's about it. I mean, I did most of this. I mean, kind of just after like doing HackTheBox, right? So I was doing some HackTheBox and I was like, these people are kind of annoying me. Like, can I use some of what I learned here? And it's like, yeah, pretty much all of the stuff I learned from HackTheBox is, applicable. So yeah, I'm just saying, have fun. And also this YouTube channel is really nice. He has a lot of tutorials there, so that helped me out a lot. But that's about it. Thank you guys.
Glad I'm not in your Life360.
Yeah.
So